and welcome to Escaping Kasterborous, the podcast where we rewatch, reminisce, and review everything Doctor Who from 2005 to present. My name is Rich, and I'm joined by someone whose mantra genuinely is, we must feed. It's Amy.
I was going to say, every time we start this, I'm always like, oh, I wonder what he's going to refer to me as today.
Can you preempt what I'm going to say, and is it going to be related to food?
That's right, because next
Most
week
of
it'll
the
be related to some fat thing that absorbs everything, so...
Spoilers, Amy, about what next... The episode everyone...
I'd rather it wasn't.
The episode of this podcasting everyone has been waiting for. Love and Monsters next week.
I can't believe it when the trailer came up.
God. I mean, first we have a two-parter to get through. It is time for The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit, our second two-parter of the series. And second two-part podcasty thing, and I'm very happy we decided to do two-parters as two-part,
me too.
as a single-part episode podcast thing, because, yeah. Explain this last time for Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel, but we won't go over that again. Speaking of things that we won't go over again, that was a terrible segue.
It was.
Somebody, to kick things off today, somebody actually tweeted me.
All
I say
right.
tweeted me. Tweeted the old at Kasterpod. Because I did ask the question on the podcast about whether people had been rewatching Doctor Who with us or watching it for the first time. Mm-hmm. And so they tweeted us and said, they said it was MX Potato Head, Drew, said that since we mentioned if we wanted to know if anyone hadn't seen all of Doctor Who, they've seen all the way up to the regeneration of Matt Smith into Capaldi, but no further.
Ooh.
So, because we were discussing this the other day, weren't we, about where we think, how far people got.
Yeah.
And you suggested it's most likely the end of Matt Smith, and I think that's where a lot of people do go. Or
Yeah,
potentially
probably.
to the end of Capaldi.
And it sounds harsh, but I think it's going to be like quite a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not, the word has left me. But basically, I think it's because people looked at Capaldi and went, oh, I don't want an old doctor.
Yeah.
And that's such a shame. But I think there's a word that I'm looking for, maybe shallow, or like, it's not shallow, but, you know, conceited, something like that. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed about our doctors and the doctors we really like, and Capaldi is one that you need to see. Like, I get that he's not Matt Smith. Obviously, lots of people jumped on the series in 2010 with Matt Smith. Like, so many people.
Okay, it was big in America then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it suddenly just got massive in the States. So lots and lots of people jumped on the series there. And obviously, when you lose your first Doctor, like, I think we discussed this back in the Parting of the Ways episode we did last year. Like, I lost Eccleston and I was gutted. And then David Tennant rocks up and I'm like, it's Richard Hammond. Who the hell's this? And, and I think
anytime a new
I swore at the
Doctor
TV when it
starts-
said Doctor Who's back at Christmas, and it's like, Christmas! I can't wait that long. But yeah, people get very attached to their doctors and they sort of stop watching after that.
I think any time a new doctor starts, it's hard for people to sort of accept that their doctor is gone.
There's a vicious cycle of, don't like this doctor, they're rubbish. Oh, they're actually okay. Oh my god, I love this doctor. Oh god, I don't like this new doctor. And the cycle continues.
Yeah.
But that actually inspired me, thank you, Drew, for making a poll on the Twitter account asking whether people have either watched all of it or not. I said not fully caught up, rather than potentially, I've never watched it all.
Right.
And it turns out that 75%, 76 specifically, but for the sake of ease of understanding, 75% of people have watched everything, and 25% of people haven't. And there's 43 votes on there, which, to be honest, for a Twitter account of that size, that's pretty goddamn good.
That's pretty good.
You guys are very active with the old Kasterpod Twitter account, and we really appreciate it. So it does seem to be that there are people in this audience who haven't seen all of Doctor Who. So, similar to how we have been, we will continue to not lean into too many spoilers. We can obviously hint at things, we can talk about other doctors, but nothing specific.
And for the whizzes of you out there, somebody tweet us and tell us, out of 43 people, what 25% of that is.
Well, that's like 10, 11 people. 10 point something people, isn't it? Because it's a quarter of 43, which is 10 point whatever.
Okay, I'll
There you
believe
go,
you.
Ace. There you go.
I'll believe you. I didn't have the brain power to work that out.
Apart from the super specifics, we will not. Apart from the we're not going to lean into super specifics. We're not going to talk about the character arc of the Doctor that's established over the course of the Russell T Davies era, sort of more through the Russell era. The Stephen Moffat era, and culminating in the Day of the Doctor. But we're not going to lean into that. But in fact, there are actually moments in this two-parter that do actually lean into that canon of the Doctor, and that we'll get to. So yeah, thanks for answering our poll. If you did, if you don't, if you haven't, if you didn't know, we're on Twitter at Kasterpod.
Spelled Kasterpod.
And the at, you press shift
and the at,
two,
obviously,
or shift and then above next to L.
Shift and then next to the enter, or wherever it
Depending
is.
on what layout of keyboard you have.
I
and
have a MacBook.
Keyboard layouts are interesting. I find keyboard layouts interesting. Anyway,
yeah, you're a nerd.
Yeah, what's new? Time to talk about the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, broadcast on the 3rd of June and the 10th of June, 2006. So
we're kind of catching up with ourselves.
Slowly but surely.
Because
I
the
see what you mean.
Today? It's like the 14th,
It's the 16th today.
16th. So we're only like, when was this? 2006?
15 years.
So we're only 15 years ago, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
15 years and 6 days.
So the Doctor and Rose land on an impossible planet orbiting a black hole, and stuff starts to go all weirdy.
Oh yeah, we never get the name of the planet, do we?
We do.
Because what did they say? What's it called? And she goes...
Crop Tor.
When the bloody hell does she say that?
Quite early on.
I'm sure she just goes, no, you really don't know, do you? And then...
Well,
I must have missed her say the name of the planet.
No, she does say it. She definitely does.
Okay, well, then apologies.
So, they land here. I don't need to go over the story, because, I mean, hopefully you've all watched it in the process. As we say, we make some dinner, we sit and watch Doctor Who, we come upstairs, and we record the podcast. This is your question for Twitter this week. If you made yourself some dinner to then sit and watch this 2-part episode, what did you have for dinner?
What did you have? We had sausage, pastry, pinwheels with mashed potato and beans.
And it was very, very nice.
It's
I
good.
look forward to our Doctor Who dinners every Wednesday-ish.
Maybe we should have had protein one with just a dash of 3. Don't look at me like that. Everyone on the podcast was just like, why did it go silent?
Oh my god, it's died. Is Spotify buffering?
It's because Rich just, like, metaphorically facepalmed.
I lost the will to live, basically. But yeah,
No,
well done
clever.
on catching that specific, because I couldn't quote that. I'm not as big of a nerd as Amy.
You couldn't quote a bit of Doctor
honestly,
Who.
right? There is a lot about this 2-parter that I just don't remember. Or I just didn't remember.
Honestly, I remember. These
like,
are some of the episodes I remember the most.
In terms of its main story beats, you know, Toby killing Scooty, the mining finishing, the Ood waking up, the pit opening, everyone getting trapped, going through the vents, and all that stuff. Like, oh yeah, of course I remember that. It's the specific character work and the dialogue that I don't remember, because watching this 2-parter, this is, I wouldn't say it's one of the best 2-parters, but in terms of how much more they can fit into a story, this is one of the best examples of it. It feels like there's so much going on, but everything is all consumable. As much as I've forgotten half the dialogue and the discussions and the specifics that happen between certain characters, so much happens. And I think part 1, I would say, in terms of its pace, is better than part 2. Impossible Planet ramps up really well, I think.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Satan Pit kicks in, all the stuff has happened, and then it kind of stops, and then it kind of jumps between this hectic stuff above ground, and then the very slow, dialogue-heavy, suspenseful underground, and chopping between the two sometimes felt not necessarily jarring. It wasn't that bad, but there were moments when I'm just like, it's kind of like we cut down to the first time I've really had this. We cut down to Ida and the Doctor discussing whatever down in the pit, and I'm there thinking, but what's going on up top? Like, they're in the middle of something really serious here. Like, what's going on? I want to know what's going on. It kept me on that kind of edge. And I don't really know why. I don't really feel like that with these sorts of things.
Would you not say that's a good thing? Because I would say that means that the episode paced itself quite well. I personally don't feel like that at all when I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know they're in danger. They're in danger, but they're always in danger. That's the whole point.
Maybe that's just me then.
I go down to the bottom and I'm like, oh, look, it's so nice and calm. I think you need those breaks in the God, my words. I'm literally, my brain, I feel like like half of my brain is squelched out my ears this week because I'm just forgetting everything.
It is warm. It's very humid today because we're about to get absolutely dicked on by storms here in the UK. Which, to be honest, I'm happy because I'm assuming that it's going to rain. It's going to cool stuff down. So cool,
yeah, I hope so.
Cool beans, quite literally. But I think that the moments that I kind of forgot made me almost feel like I was watching a new episode again. Like I didn't remember how things panned out, like scene to scene to scene. It's not one of the episodes I can just quote beginning to end, like Dalek in series 1.
Yeah, no, I can't quote it beginning to end, but I definitely remember this episode the most out of, well, not the most, but like one of sort of the more prominent episodes that lives rent-free in my brain. Is that what the kids are saying these days?
Apparently.
Like every sort of beat of the story, like I knew what was coming next. Like it wasn't like I was sort of thinking, like for some reason, the bit that always sticks out to me the most is the bit in the air tunnels where Toby shushes the Ood and has the glowing red eyes, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, help me.
Yeah.
For some reason, that bit just I always remember that bit. I remember the air tunnels, like I remember the black, like there's so much of it that I was like, oh yeah, that's about to happen, and oh yeah, that happens, and oh yeah, that happens, but it's not in a bad way. Like I just know this episode, and I don't know whether that's just because I've watched it more than some of the others, or it's just more, it appeals to me more, because I quite like the fast-paced sort of action of this one.
Yeah. Like I said, it builds really well, and then it hits this action paired with the slowness of the stuff down in the pit. But in terms of stuff that I don't remember, and this is the first kind of point of the episode where I kind of sat forward like, oh, okay. And that was when it was after the TARDIS gets dropped into the pit, lost, whatever, and the Doctor and Rose are sat in the canteen talking, and about how they haven't got the TARDIS anymore. They're going to hopefully get away with the rest of the crew when they're done drilling and finding the power source that's keeping the planet afloat and in orbit and whatever. And they talk about getting a mortgage and settling down.
Yeah.
And Rose being like, oh, we could share, we could live together.
Bunk up.
Genuinely. It's like going back and thinking, am I watching an extended edition of this episode because I do not remember the scene at all? Because I don't.
Yeah, I
genuinely didn't remember that scene.
Out of everything that the episode does hold, it's the scene I remember the least. But I do remember it when I watch it. Like, I wouldn't sort of think through the episode and remember that scene explicitly from memory, but when it's on, I do remember Rose going, you'd have to get a mortgage, and he's like,
so
oh God, no.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna die. Just kill me now.
You know, obviously, fake Doctor Who fan right here.
Obviously.
Can't quote everything back to front. I mean, admittedly, I pace myself with rewatching Doctor Who. I've been enjoying doing the podcast, as I say, literally every week. But I'm not the person that goes back and watches it on loop.
No.
It's not The Simpsons. Funnily enough.
No, that's
Simpsons
true.
is background noise. Doctor Who is not. So, yeah, but anyway. So, one thing that's interesting about this two-part of this story is the setting in terms of its sort of contextual setting. Something is happening. There's power source, there's resources, there's whatever. And then human curiosity / stupidity leads them to this thing. It's actually a relatively common occurrence in Doctor Who. You've got things like, obviously, sometimes I not so much now, but I remember I used to mix up certain scenes and elements of this two-parter and Waters of Mars.
Yeah,
because
for some reason,
to some extent,
it's very
there's a weird parallel. It's humans on a base. They're not going to make it out. It's a base under siege story, and even things like there's a much more recent example is Revolution of the Daleks. Human curiosity / stupidity gets them into the pickle they're in. Yeah. Obviously, no specifics, but this one feels like the purest one because it feels like almost the first one. But the stupidity side of it doesn't really come into play. It is the curiosity, but no one on that team makes a stupid decision. They're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
For definite. I was going to say the main parallel I draw between this episode and Waters of Mars for some reason is the doors, because I always get confused between the way they open the doors in this episode and the way they open the doors in the Waters of Mars, which is by answering those stupid quiz questions.
No, you mixed up another episode into the mix there, Ames.
Which episode is that?
42 in series 3. Where the ship with the sentient sun burn with me.
Oh,
and they're falling into the sun.
Okay, well, and in which case I'd mix it up with that episode as well, because
that's a Chibnall episode. Fun fact.
Oh,
that's
gross.
not complete trash.
No wonder why it's not one of my favourites, and I don't remember it. But yeah, all I remember is those stupid quiz questions to get through. I mean, what kind of bloody system is that? Who goes, do you know what we need here? We need mental stimulation. Because what happens if you're just having a bad day and someone goes, what's 4 plus 4?
You just feel really
5,
thick and you can't remember the words.
No, you're not allowed through the door. I don't think so. And sure, okay.
Do you know what?
Well, I'll just go back to bed then.
Time to move conversation to the doors, because there was something that I'd said to Amy that I couldn't remember whether it was in this or not. And obviously the main antagonist of this story back in the day were always the Ood, because they're easier to merchandise. But the main antagonist was the devil, or
Toby,
the beast.
Toby.
Which, Toby to some extent.
No,
is the
he's
beast.
not really.
And I love the concept, just to segue off from doors for a second now I've mentioned the beast. I love this idea that they haven't justified or established this character as the devil. They obviously hint to it with the whole, when another line I don't necessarily remember was Tennant doing all his calculations saying it's 6 times 6 to the power of 6.
Oh,
and she's like, that's all the 6s. I don't remember that line.
And I'm like,
they allude to it a lot. But they didn't lean into... Obviously, I know that the Doctor mentions religion, but they don't lean into the idea of it being the Christian, inverted commas, devil. It is just this beast with no... They don't... Again, another great thing about this era is that if they don't need to explain it or justify it, they won't. They're not going to tell you what that creature was. Tennant's not going to go, hang on a minute, and then sniffs the air or licks its feet or something and goes, hang on, you're this
Matt
kind
Smith
of...
very much
you're
did.
this kind of... Or just if it was Matt Smith, he would just Sonic it. It's like,
Jodie.
you are... Or Jodie. You are this alien from this time, you are this, that, and the other. It's just like you were this creature that became the inspiration for the bad things in the world, and in religion that is the devil, the anti-god, the antichrist, whatever. I love that they have this kind of airy-fairy reference to that, and it justifies the existence of Satan in the Whoniverse, but it's not there to be it. They've not turned around and gone, this Christianity, this is actually what it is. It's some alien bullcrap. I don't think they get away with that. But having the beast be this pseudo representation of it within the Whoniverse, I love that.
Yeah, and the way they kind of manifest it throughout the episode. They say all sorts of... the word devil is mentioned so many times. It's the devil.
Yeah.
The devil was inside my head.
Rose says Satan. So.
Yeah, literally. But I think the way they manifest it is with the way start that again. The way the Doctor explains it.
I mean, you can call him David.
I know.
We're on first name terms by now, surely.
I'm talking about the character, not David himself. So, the way the Doctor explains it, when he says, like, it's playing on basic fears, is kind of like... I think that's why the sort of quote-unquote monster of the week works so well here, because it is just playing on basic fears, and it's like, what's your darkest secret? Like, what do you not want people to know? What are you most scared of? And it, like you said, it isn't a, oh, look, this is what the devil really is, ha, like, oh, you know, the moon, ha, yeah, we're going to talk about that in a few series time.
Christ.
But, yeah, it's not actively like, oh, you know that thing that we all know as, like, the Christianity concept of the devil, yeah, this is it, lol. It's more like, this is the manifestation of why people root their fear, why fear exists, basically.
Yeah.
And I think sort of implying that it came from before the universe works quite well for that, because it's, how do you even imagine before the universe? Like, that's
well, again,
not...
it's that kind of ambiguity that they like to leave in. Matt Jones, who wrote this, just leaves that ambiguity, which it's the kind of thing that you don't get from the Chibnall era, is that ambiguity. The idea that you don't need to answer every question if it's not relevant.
You know that
like,
saying
keep
like...
things... What was it? Was there something from last week that was just left alone, or from recent weeks that we said they just didn't lean into what it was or why it existed or anything?
I think I know
because
what you're talking about, but...
Because they didn't need to. You don't have to. Just don't... Oh, it's The Wire.
Oh, yeah.
Exiled from her own planet and whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, none of that is important in the grand scheme of things. We don't need, we didn't ask for your life story, and it's the same thing for the Beast. Not important.
What's that saying that's like, you know, when people say, like, treat people as if they're stupid? Because, like, when you're, like, writing something...
You're writing an English essay when you're at school, and it's like, you've got to treat the reader like they're being
stupid. I feel like Chris has never, ever broken away from that. Like, he was told once in Year 9 English, like, treat people like they're stupid, and he's gone, that will be my life mantra.
Is it Dan, Nerdcube, that says First Draft Chibnall?
First Draft Chibnall, yeah. If anybody knows Dan Nerdcube, you probably do if you're listening to Doctor Who. The crossover is insane. Yeah, he in his F yeah, Doctor Pooh.
Amy's words are so gone.
My brain, like I said, it's just farted up for years.
It's so warm here.
F yeah, I know, I'm so hot. In his F yeah, Doctor Who podcast, thank you.
She's not going, ugh.
He calls him old first drafty, is what he calls it, because he calls it Chibnall's misfired guns and old first drafty, which I definitely agree with, because you can tell that he wrote a draft, gave it to the cutting room, and they just went, chop out all of that, and then the rest of it just didn't make sense, but Chibnall just went, that's fine.
I said this in the ups and downs, so it's actually my last ups and downs at What Culture. Expect there to be something similar to that in the future on my personal YouTube channel. Not ups and downs specifically, because, can't be dealing with that kind of... not really, but... Yeah, I'm not even going to open that kind of worms.
You don't want to get sued by What Culture.
Expect something like that, because I don't think I'll be able to resist not going on YouTube and being like, oh my god, how bad was that? Because my expectations for Series 13 are like... Oh, I knew my expectations were low, but holy flip.
As soon as Chibnall leaves, I'm hoping the Doctor Who will get the, like, resurrection it deserves.
Yeah.
Because...
It's very quickly on that kind of topic, there have been musings that, again, this is the Mirror who said Jodie's leaving back whenever, and nothing came of it. But there are musings now that, because there were shots of Jodie on location with Mandip Gill and...
Tosin Cole?
No, he's left, hasn't he? His name's left me.
John Bishop.
John Bishop. I don't know why. I was thinking he's called Dan. John Bishop. Yeah, thank you. Of Jodie looking really sad and getting hugged by John Bishop and stuff, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, she's leaving." But
do you know what? Until you mentioned that, I forgot John Bishop was even bloody in the new series.
That is a whole story for another time.
Whole nother kettle of fish.
My opinion on why they put John Bishop in is like, just give me Jodie and Mandip and nothing else. Anyway, the musings are that there's going to be the series 13 of what is like 8 episodes instead of 10.
Right. Oh my
due
God,
to
it's getting
COVID.
shorter every bloody week.
It's because of COVID.
Fair enough.
And then apparently Jodie's going to do 2 specials next year, and then that's it. So kind of similar to how Tennant
left.
went out. And admittedly, like how Matt Smith went out, because I always forget that he had Day of the Doctor,
yeah,
and then Time of the Doctor, and that was it. And he was done. So apparently that's what's going on. And then there's obviously the idea of, oh my God, is Chibnall going to be a 1-Doctor showrunner?
Well,
It's
supposedly,
like, please.
I once saw internet rumours, musings, that because obviously both Chibnall and Jodie have worked together on like Broadchurch and stuff, they, not that they're a package deal or anything, but when they started working on Who together, I saw, if I recall rightly, that somebody wrote about somebody saying that if Chibnall left, Jodie would leave, and if Jodie left, Chibnall would leave, if I'm remembering correctly. So fingers crossed, because I hate Chibnall.
Yeah,
he's ruined my favourite.
It's one of those
show.
things where I still love Doctor Who. I will never give up on it. Like, irrelevant of how bad it will get, I will never give up on that show. But as I said, my expectations for the next series are not high. So it's not going to take much to impress me now. After where
the bar is low.
After there were elements of series 12 that were really good. There were elements of series 12 that were really bad. As said to Amy, after just as I was putting the Blu-ray away after we'd finished watching the episodes tonight, Orphan 55 is literally the worst episode of Doctor Who ever made. It's and we've got Love and Monsters next week. If you've not seen Orphan 55, it is terrible. And I don't want him there.
And the worst part is, eventually, in the watch through, we're going to get to it, and we're going to have to watch it again.
But going back to where we skewed off from in terms of talking about Chibs, I said on that Ups and Downs that my old uni tutor, a lovely man called Clifton Stewart, who, funnily enough, a few people in the comments were like, "Oh my God, you went to Coventry University, you know Clifton." I'm like,
yes.
Well, I wasn't expecting Cov uni students in media to be like, "Oh my God, you did my course." Because
we both went to Coventry, actually.
That's where we met. He was like a scripty guy, and he said to us, I remember very vividly in my first year when we had to do a script writing, what's the word?
Module.
Not project. Module, that's it. I remember him saying very clearly in a room in the basement of the Arts and Media building, because that's where media production belongs, apparently, saying that if you have a script, cut out every other line, and it arguably will still read the same. Chibnall never did that. Every single line of dialogue that came into his head, he just went and put it in.
Yeah, it's more recorded. If you can cut out every line and the script still makes sense, then
it's
you're
not literal,
like, you know.
but it is like that's the kind of extent you need to cut stuff. But segue.
Chibnall cuts the wrong stuff. Like, I mean, he cuts out important information and leaves in the drivel.
No. He leaves the important information in and spells it out for you. That's how it works.
No, he doesn't.
The doctor might as well go, I know what'll solve this. I don't know. Solution,
a jigsaw puzzle.
The solution protocol. And then Yaz goes, the solution protocol? Graham goes, the solution protocol. The doctor goes, solution protocol.
Ryan goes, look, there's the solution protocol.
Oh, look, a solution protocol. Anyway.
But it's down a ladder, so I can't get it. Because apparently that's all my dyspraxia affects. I can throw a bloody ball through a hoop about 3 miles away, but I can't climb down a ladder.
Anyway, Impossible Planet Satan Pit, Series 2, 15 years ago.
We're half an hour in, I don't think
the devil is
much.
going on about basic fears, as you say. The doctor's like, basic fears, yada, 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 yada. And one of the things the devil says is the one who killed his own kind. Mm-hmm. In reference to the Doctor. And compared to everything, all the little elements, the hints of where the Doctor's come from, who the Doctor is, what happened in the time between 1996 and 2005, we've only had whispers, and that, so far, spoilers maybe not, is the most apt and explicit mention of it.
Yeah.
Of the Time War.
Because
there you go. If you are watching for the first time, keep that in mind.
Because if you notice, the way the devil, for lack of a better word, goes through everybody's fears. He singles the Doctor out, and I don't think that's him, like, as a sort of character beat. I think that's a scriptural, like, on purpose, sort of purposely written so that the Doctor's fear/secret is singled out, because he says, oh, he knows me, I know him, the one who killed his own kind. And then he goes on to say, or is it after? Either way, whether he lists everybody else's fears before or after the Doctor's, I can't remember what order.
I think Rose's was last.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
girl,
I think he does the Doctor's.
The home who will die soon in battle or something.
I think he does the Doctor's first, and then he does everybody else's. And I think that was obviously written in on purpose, because as an audience, like you said, we'd not heard this piece of information before. We just assumed they were all dead because they were all dead and there was a war. But then, obviously, it doesn't actually really ever get fully explained. Correct me if I'm wrong here, because I could be wrong. But does it not actually ever get fully explained what happens until Day of the Doctor? Is it Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary?
Yeah.
That's where we find out what actually happens, isn't it?
I think it is pretty much.
I mean, you can fill in the gaps, yeah, but it's not
I think you get an entire idea of everything that happened in the Time War up to that point, and then it's the most explicit in Day of the Doctor. But anyway, that's that little hint that you get about the Doctor's story from that point. And the Doctor, I think, obviously there is that realization that he's outed me, he knows who I am, but because there's all the other stuff, everyone else being called out, Jefferson and his wife, Ida Scott and their mum, Rose and dying in battle,
I think it was.
The Doctor was like, right, either I can sit here and go, no, you don't know me, you can't know that, or I can be like, okay, this is going to freak people out because I know he's right. All this stuff he is saying about the crew and about Rose, he is correct because he's right about me. So something is going to happen to Rose. I don't want to believe it, and I need to try and convince them that he's lying. So he leans into just, we are great, we can do this if we work together as a team.
He doesn't exactly say that. The only thing he explicitly says is a lie is Rose at the end. Like, he doesn't tell anybody else that he's lying. He distracts
them.
Yeah, does he? When Ida says, but how can he know that that's true? Did he say he lies, or was that a different part? I can't remember.
I think he just kind of brushes it off and is like, let's focus on what's going on at the moment and stuff like that.
So he doesn't actively say, oh, it's a lie. He just kind of is like, it's not important to focus on it. We've got more important things.
Yeah, exactly.
But then obviously right at the end, he says to Rose, well, then he was lying. And it's kind of like, yeah, he was. Because she doesn't die in battle, does she? I can't remember.
Well, spoilers. So let's talk about that when we get round to it. I'll talk to you after we finish recording, Amy.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, segue, all the way back, I mentioned doors, because there's something about this episode that I couldn't remember whether it was this or Waters of Mars. Again. And obviously me, if you know who I am, I've always loved video games all my life, and one of my favourite series that I kind of got more into with the reboots, but I did play the originals, or at least I played ports of the originals, is Doom. I adore Doom, especially the new games.
He does.
I have the helmet from Doom Eternal.
He does.
That Amy still shakes her head at every time she sees it. Totally worth it. Doom Eternal, absolutely excellent game. Joint game of the year last year. Anyway, in this episode, it's in both parts of this episode, every time something devilish happens, obviously devil, demons, it's all very Doom. It's it's a space station with aliens and stuff going on. Every time something bad happens, you might, if you do know Doom, if you know the original 2 games, maybe the 3rd game, I don't know whether it has the same door sounds. Anyway, if you listen to when Toby comes out of his room and the devil's speaking to him and all the lights flicker, you can hear the sound of the Doom doors opening in the original game. This like plays when anything bad happens. And I didn't know whether it was just when the doors get opened. And when the Doctor opens the first door, I was like, oh, it's not the Doom sound. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, it's the Doom sound.
He went, oh my God, that's the Doom sound.
They literally played sounds from the video game in this episode. Every time the lights flicker and something bad happens, the Doom door opening sound plays. And if you didn't know that, go back, watch it again, and you will see,
if you don't know Doom,
hear the fact that you can hear sound effects from Doom, a video game from 1993.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check now. I think it's 93.
Well, the reboot hadn't been made yet, had it?
Well, the reboot was 2016.
Yeah,
Doom 1993. So there's just this really little silly reference in Doctor Who.
If you don't know the Doom sounds, just YouTube, Google whatever Doom
door sounds.
Doom game sounds from 1990, whatever.
But just a little thing they have in this.
I'd like to know how they went about thinking, like, who went, do you know what would be really good here? The sounds from Doom.
I want to know who it is that put it in. Was it Matt Jones? Was it James Strong, the director? Was it Russell? Is Russell someone who likes a bit of Doom?
I don't know that Russell would have much in-depth control over what went into the episode.
Doom is a hugely influential video game. In case you aren't down with the kids and know your games, Doom back in '93 was such an influence on a lot of things. And that influence and that legacy is still felt today. Hence why the new Doom games are still absolutely excellent.
I am absolutely sweating. Can I open a window? If I open a window and there's background noise on the podcast, I'm very sorry.
I might do the same. There were people out in the back garden earlier. I could hear people milling about.
Them, yeah. But I'm so hot. I'm sorry, people, if you can hear cars or something in the background. Apologies.
You shouldn't do. It's nice and quiet around here. But you never really want to risk it, but it's just
too hot.
It's
too
so
hot.
Warm. Like I said, it's warm, it's humid, the sky is kind of grey. It's kind of getting a bit gross out there. We've got literally the next like 4 days it's just thunderstorms apparently, but whatever, I'm fine with that. Don't have to wash my car. Cool. So yeah, there is Doom. As for another little detail, that going from something I really, really like to something I really, 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 really don't like.
Is this the trailer part?
No.
No? We will mention that.
We'll get to that. This happens only in the Satan Pit.
Right.
And I'm going to have to go and watch the Doctor Who Confidential for this once I've actually finished, once we finish recording, once I've edited the podcast. Because whenever the soldiers fire their weapons, there's this really strange sort of slow motion-ish kind of thing. The weapon sounds a bit weird. The effects are a bit crap. The acting with the weapons is absolutely dreadful.
Trash.
Bless them. I mean, obviously I've come from somebody I've never actually fired a real like firearm. I've done air rifles and stuff, and I've always found the intricacies and the mechanics of weaponry always very interesting. So I've done kind of like my research, and I know bits and pieces about things like that. And when it's like you're almost cursed with this knowledge of it's so clear when you see weapons being done wrong. And I did a video on What Culture Gaming about times games got weapons wrong, and it did like nearly 2 million views, which I'm very proud of personally.
You always mention it whenever we're watching something. You go, "Oh, well, you wouldn't hold the gun like that."
Oh, you've done it wrong like that.
They've repurposed that gun, and it wouldn't actually do that.
It's one of those things similar to something that we'll talk about next week about photographs. It's one of those little details in film and TV production. You think, why don't they take that just that little bit more seriously? Because
they'd have to pay to hire a gun expert.
It might not be something you'd notice, but if it is noticed, either way, it can either be very, very, very well praised for its like realism, kind of like how something say like Scrubs, which apparently is incredibly medically accurate.
Yeah,
you would never think of it, but because it is, you have more respect for it. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like this, again, it's Doctor Who. You don't find weapons being fired all that frequently, but obviously budget-wise or down to the space they had or whatever, they obviously weren't going to fire blanks, or it was a conscious decision to have this really peculiar effect going on when they fire their weapons, and I just don't like it.
No, it looks
bless him.
Really...
The guy that plays Jefferson, the way he fires his weapon, you can see it really clearly. There's a point when there's like a couple of people firing their weapons the first time you see it happen, and then a bit later on it's just Jefferson firing his, and he's so blatantly just like moving his weapon up and down in his hands, And it's like when you fire a weapon, it pushes backwards into you, doesn't go up and down. And it looks really, really dumb.
I mean, he did his best.
He did his best. Again,
and to be fair, they probably told him to overact it because they were like, oh, it's fine. There's going to be loads of blasty effects and everything over the top. Over it, so don't worry about it.
It's dreadful. But in terms of the weaponry itself specifically, it kind of harks to, I think it's Stargate, the series and the films and stuff. Because the weapon that they're using in this, this is me going very, very weapons nerd here. And for those of you who've played shooting games, you will know this weapon. It's called a P90. It's a Belgian weapon. And it's designed in such a weird way. It got used in loads of sci-fi, Stargate being an example, because it looks so unearthly. And I don't know whether that's specifically why they got this weapon in for the Impossible Planet Satan Pit, because it looks so space age. It's like retro-futuristic almost. Maybe. I don't know. But they got those in, and it's like, that's actually really cool. Rather than using some kind of, the bolt gun has been designed to match the aesthetic of the base. Yeah. And then they just went, okay, we're going to get some P90s, and we're going to stick some yellow and black chevrons on it, gruff them up a bit, and call it a day. So, but yeah. Little things like that. Thankfully, you don't see weapons in Doctor Who all that frequently.
Well, no, that's kind of the Doctor's thing.
That's kind of the idea, yeah. But that is, out of all of Doctor Who that I can think of, another thing that I will get to is the End of Time Part 2 with weapons, but that's one of the most egregious things. And that, inverted commas, artistic decision to make the weaponry and the firing look like that, trash. Don't
just
do it
kind
again.
Of breaks the... what's the word or phrase I'm looking for? There's something...
Suspension of disbelief?
That's the one, thank you. It kind of breaks your suspension of disbelief a little bit because you're kind of a bit like, well, that seems a bit odd.
Everything about this, I mean, it's like, it's Doctor Who. It's like right at the end when Toby gets launched out of the front of the spaceship and you're there like, you shouldn't be able to hear them talking, which you're right.
Yeah, I said, didn't I?
If they're
when
in a vacuum, you won't be able to hear them talk.
He was like, emergency shield. Like, you could have just pressed the button. But, like, you would have all, like, they were all kind of like, oh my God, what's going on?
Scientifically, you wouldn't be able to hear them. He was
like, emergency shields. Just get them to, like, hold their breath and struggle to push the button. We know it's an emergency shield. We can see the shield going up. We don't have to have it explained.
Elements like that could work so much better and be even more hard-hitting when it's quiet. Mm-hmm. Like, if you've seen... is it Last Jedi? I think it's Last Jedi. There's a particular shot in The Last Jedi, yeah, it must be, where a big thing happens with... is it Laura Dern? Laura Dern's character. There's like a massive explosion. Basically, she like warp speeds a ship through the middle of like a first order armada, and rather than being like really big and explosive, it just goes dead silent, and it's these absolutely gorgeous silhouette shots of the ships being like ripped apart. It's that moment when I was in the cinema and I was like I was completely taken away by it. It was amazing. That's the kind of thing they could have done.
It's kind of like to draw a parallel to something I would actually understand.
I was going to say...
Never seen Star Wars, lol. In Order of the Phoenix, when Sirius died, in the film, I'm talking about, or the book, obviously. When
the book's
Sirius,
all silent.
when Sirius dies in the film...
spoilers, God.
It Soz, it's only been out, 15,
as in when he
years.
falls into the veil thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't go silent, but the actual actors, they don't have any dialogue, like there's no noise coming from Harry, it's just music playing over the top.
Yeah.
And like that has always been super impactful because it's like slow-mo, it's like silent, it's silent for them sort of thing. And it's that the way they do that is kind of parallel to how they probably should have done this, because
but as said, we can pick these little things apart, but at the end of the day, it's Doctor Who. It's always a bit silly. Everything else about this feels really grounded and really real, like the relationship between Rose and the Doctor, that these characters being there forever. Like there's something about the way that they act, the way that they go about their work. They don't feel like they're just actors pretending to be people here. It feels like they've genuinely been there for God knows how long. And those moments do kind of take it out a bit, but again, you can pick holes in these things like big time. But
let's
in the
pick holes in something important.
Let's
the
pick
trailer. Let's
as in
pick,
the next time.
Let's
or as in,
yeah. So at the end of this episode, right at the end of this episode, you know, when I turned to you and said,
right.
"Why do they do
so not the next
shot?"
So not the next time. So the final shot of Impossible Planet before we hit the stinger and then we hit the credits. Take it away, Amy.
So I turn to you. Because obviously they I
fully agree with this as well.
Yeah, they get to the trapdoor, as the Doctor calls it, and it starts to open, and then all of a sudden the voice is like, "I am risen, I am here," or whatever the bloody hell it says. "I am free." That's the one. And it's and the camera shot is like rising from the pit over the edge to look at the Doctor and Ida, and nothing comes out the pit, and it's really infuriating because it's like, "I'm free," and you expect this huge monster to be rising up out of the pit, and you expect the Doctor and Ida to be in trouble, and then all of a sudden the next episode, because even in the next episode when they do that previously on Doctor Who whatever, they show that shot literally before the titles, and then they go, "Anything down there?" and they go, "No, it's just a big empty pit." Well, then why did you show this thing coming out? Like, I know you're trying to be all cliffhanger-y, but don't do that, because that's really not okay. Like, you're basically just lying to us.
It heavily implies that there's something coming out of the pit.
Because let's be honest, you're not free, are you? You're not free because you're still trapped in the prison, and that's the whole point of the later plot. So, like, don't say "I am free" and then not be free, because that's just a big fat lie, innit, Mr. Devil?
It is a proper baity sort of ending cliffhanger.
It's really
to an
annoying.
It is a little bit.
I was like, why did they do that? Literally nothing comes out of the pit. In the next episode, they're stood in front of an empty pit. Don't lie.
You could turn around and be like, "Oh, there's some like metaphorical thing," and blah blah blah. It's like, but if you look at it, if you take it at face value, which sometimes you've got to do, it's
because even if he was going, "I am free mentally," no, you were already mentally free because you'd already infected Toby. You'd already done all that. So how about we just stop with the lies, we stop with the crap, and you just have, instead of having the guy going, "I am free," you just have the camera shot of, like, you know, the pit, or like the Doctor, or like something, you know. If the shot was just rising out of the pit without the monster going, "I'm free," then I'd have been okay with that. I'd have probably been more okay with that than with the lies. Sorry, it just really angered me.
So
but I wanted to mention it.
From one monster to another, this is actually the first time we get to see the Ood in Doctor Who, which, you know, the Ood as a recurring presence, character. Not necessarily villain, but presence. The Ood I always find the least annoying when they crop up again, because of their, you know, they're a slave race, they exist to serve, and they are everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially since when Rosie's like, "What the hell are these guys?" and they're like, "Wait, what? You don't know? You don't have one? Whatever." I love the Ood.
Yeah.
There's something about them that they're almost comforting. It's like that comfort blanket of seeing something back, like the blue box or a Dalek. It's like there's an Ood. And the beauty of it is they can get dropped into anything. It's not that frequent that you see an Ood in a story that isn't going to be relevant in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Are they always used? They're not always used for, like, the villain, are they?
Not always, but they are some. Usually when they are present, something does happen to them. Because obviously we have Planet of the Ood in Series 4. We have Brother in The Doctor's Wife.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Brother?
Is that the
there's
one?
There's Aunt, Uncle.
Wait.
Brother and Astrid.
The Doctor's Wife. Is that
the one where the house?
Yes, that is
voiced
the one I was
by Michael Sheen.
Okay,
Is it called Brother? I think it's called Brother.
Something like
There's
that.
an Ood in that, but again, that one gets possessed by House and so on. And there are Ood in Revolution of the Daleks, but they're just there in the prison, aren't they?
Poor Ood.
But
all they're trying to do is just exist and help people.
There's this really sort of dry comedicness to them, especially after the titles of like, "We must feed, knock knock, you.
We must feed.
Are you hungry? I love that, this idea that there's such this innocent race. Like, they can be so evil for like about an episode's length, really, like towards the end of Impossible Planet, and then throughout the vast majority of Satan Pit, until that last shot of them all cowering they're all cowering in the corridor, and they're all like, oh no, it's so sad. Like,
but then he does the good thing of honouring them all with at the end when he's like, Ood Alpha 1 or whatever it is,
deceased with honours. Also, can we take a moment? Zachary Cross Flane. What a flipping cool name.
That's his whole name.
Zachary Cross Flane.
Incredible. It's
such a cool name. I don't know. Right, this might just be me reading into it because it's Doctor Who of the Russell T Davies era, but I feel like I think there's something behind his eyes where the Doctor's like, I'm going to give you a hug, and he's kind of there like, yeah, do it. I don't know whether that's just me, but I'm just like...
Yeah, but you think about how long it's been since he's been hugged. Props.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't seem like they hug each other.
I was going to
much.
mention this to you. I'm also kind of like, yeah, but I could kind of see that team kind of, just, getting a bit busy with each other while they're there. There's only X number of them there. I mean, Oh,
Scooty, Scooby-Doo, lol. Scooty definitely banged Toby at one point, let's be honest.
Yeah,
because, I mean, the way she looks at him when he's through that window is like, I know you've got a bunch of devil things on your face, but you've never looked hot, boy.
Yeah, those red eyes, baby. I've completely lost my train of thought. I was thinking about Scooty.
When he hugs.
Yeah, for some reason, Cross Flane, I'm just like, yeah, I think he's probably thinking about it. Like, give me a really, really, like, implicit, potentially gay character, not one that's got like the hints of it, but just like
no. I mean, you know what, like, there's new bodies on a ship that they've all just been on with each other for God knows how long. Of course they're going to be like, fresh blood.
I'll have it either. I mean, Toby literally is like, oh my God, look at Rose's arse, and it's like,
well, actually, he insults it, doesn't he? Because she says something to no.
She says to Danny, like, oh, it's not your best angle, Danny.
Yeah, and then he says,
Toby
it
behind her
could
says,
be worse.
Oh, could be worse.
No, he actually says it like, because then she goes, oi!
I think you could read that as either he's saying that she's got a bad ass, but I'm probably more swung in thinking that he's like, hot damn.
No, see, I genuinely read it as like, they're all just kind of so in the thick of it that they're kind of like attacking each other. Like, he's like, well, it could be worse. And she's like, oi, shut your face.
Nah, I personally read that as, damn, Billy Piper's got a nice booty. Anyway,
I mean,
don't take that out of context. I mean,
where's the lie?
Certain things get better with age. Billy Piper is one of them. Blimey.
So is
anyway,
David Tennant,
is it me or is it warm in here?
Hey, I mean, it is warm in here, but
I mean, we've managed 52 minutes, and there's the David Tennant. Oh my God, simp comment.
I mean, he does. Look at him; he's like a fine wine.
He's got his hair. He's got his hair down in this episode, and yeah, I just want to lick his sideburns. Anyway, you're right there, Ace. She's just baring her teeth in a pretty, Andy Samberg in that Lonely Island video. Yeah, you know which one.
Yeah.
Train of thought. Ood. I was going to say something about the Ood. Ood, that was it. I wanted to bring up the Ood because I have another IRL story, another fun, rich going out into the world and experience Doctor Who stuff. When I went to the Doctor Who experience, when it opened in London before it went to Cardiff, with my girlfriend at the time.
Not me.
Not you. There was, after you have the whole show section where you get to whole fly the TARDIS, and it was the Matt Smith's first era TARDIS was the one we flew. Right. I think it must have been 2011, 2012, I think we went, or something like that.
Yeah, probably would have been.
Yeah. And I remember going into, after you've done all that, you have the whole just exhibition floor where you can see all the props and things. And there was something, I think it was like the stages of putting on an Ood costume, like an Ood prosthetic.
Right.
And it had like all these like busts of a head with like bits and pieces of the Ood costume being put on. And then right at the end, I was like looking really closely, like scanning along these like 5 or 6 heads. And then as I got to the end, I looked up, and stood in front of me, like right into my face, was just a standee with the full Ood costume, and the eyes were red. And I crapped myself.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Like nothing was moving. I was just really taking in the detail of these costumes, and then look up and boom, right in your face. It's like when you're doodling on your paper. You're doodling on your paper in school, and you look up and the teacher's looking over, and you think, "Oh God!" It's like that, but it was a red-eyed dude. It scared the crap out of me. That's my awkward ood story. That's my ood story.
Your ood. That's ood.
An odd ood story. That's ood. Apparently, that's literally because Russell T Davies came up with the name ood, and apparently that's why he called them that, because it's like,
well, because it was like odd, but different.
It sounds a bit ood. And they're like, sure, Russell, why not?
Sure, we'll go with that. It's better than anything First Drafty came up with.
I'm trying to think of names of creatures in the
Chibnall area.
The Dregs, or from 55.
Toothy Boy, whatever he's called.
Tim Shaw or Tim
Shaw.
Again, we'll get to them.
I genuinely can't remember any of the baddies. Lol.
Yeah, nor can I.
Apart from the Cybermen, which lol, spoilers. And
yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Weird little plastic blobs or
the Pating in the Saranga Conundrum. That's another fun episode we'll have to get to.
I would rather watch the Saranga Conundrum than Orphan 55, though.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
So. It's the lesser of two evils, to say the least.
It's still awful, but
it's still dreadful.
Oh, I can't wait until we get to Jodie's series. It's going to be so fun.
Oh, there's so much to rip apart.
Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice?
I'm going to dig out my ups and downs scripts and go through what I thought, like literally the night of the episode.
We made notes for days on that, didn't we? Yeah. We used to, after we'd watched the episode, we used to turn off the TV and sit and just talk about the episode for like an hour afterwards.
While I wrote the script for ups and downs and then recorded it first thing the next day at work.
Honestly, this is genuinely why we wanted to do the podcast, was because we used to do that after Jodie's episodes. We used to just sit and kind of chat, and we were like, hey, this would be really cool on a podcast.
Even before I did ups and downs, we'd just sit and talk about what the episode was and how things went and so on and so forth. So yeah, the podcast was a natural evolution of that. And there was a tweet on Kasterpod of someone who just came across the podcast again. I was I'm so happy I found this. And
maybe I should go onto the YouTube, the last
you
YouTube
should
episode,
honestly you should,
because I wouldn't want you to do it, because if What Culture Catch that you're promoting it elsewhere, then that's not fair. However, I might go onto the last YouTube episode that we posted and just comment and be like, oh, so Kasterpod.
Just say follow us at Kasterpod to see
on Twitter
where we are now
and
for the next episode.
Yeah, I'll do that after we finished.
Yeah, do that, because I'd probably get in trouble.
You don't want to do it, but they don't know who I am, and if they can link me to you, then that's tough. You don't control me.
I'll log on as a YouTuber. I'll log on as traction.gg and comment on it.
That's right. I'll just log on as my my other channel that I made and then never used. Lol.
Do it. I mean, I've got a channel that I've not started yet.
Actually, not that it matters, because they can't control me for crap, and if they tried, I'd sue them.
Not that they'd be checking the comments on the podcast, but
not that they care.
Whatever. But yeah, like those kind of tweets where people have been finding us again, because I've tried to promote it as much as I can, but obviously I can't do it on YouTube. I can't obviously tweet on Who Culture because I don't have access to it anymore. I mean, I say that. I know the login, but I'm not that kind of person.
Quick, follow us on Kasterpod, lol, bye, and then just see how quick it takes to get deleted.
My logins still work, but anyway, those kind of tweets where you guys have found us again and just sending us your support, we really do appreciate that. It's fantastic. As I said, we're trying to do this every week as best we can, but we're never going to go longer than 2 weeks.
That's what currently what we're aiming for is every other week. Really, realistically.
Every other week is the minimum. If we manage to get stuff done and things aren't like tough or we're not knackered or whatever, then we will absolutely get to it every week. I'm excited because it's Love and Monsters time.
Yeah.
And also, another thing that I do find kind of more motivating is the fact that the two-parters get done together.
Yeah.
So we actually get through series quicker because of that. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty damn good. But I think that is about where we're going to wrap up today. Marks out of 10 for the Impossible Planet Satan Pit Aims. There are no questions, by the way. I might have forgotten to tweet out saying we're recording this today because I suck.
Genius.
If you have any questions regarding Love and Monsters, and by God, I know you do, tweet us at Kasterpod. Amy, marks out of 10.
I'm gonna go with maybe a 7.
I was thinking 7 or 8 because there's not much to criticize.
It's pretty solid.
It's not like Idiot's Lantern, where it's like, it's good enough, but it's not amazing. Whereas this is more like, this is like a really solid two-parter.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot you can...
It's a very strong, longer story. So
yeah, and I think there's a lot you can kind of delve into in terms of like the supposed threat and how that affects people and the idea of religion and like evil and stuff like that. So I think, although it masquerades itself as a little bit like Monster of the Week, with the Ood being kind of like the bodies of
the vessels.
Yeah, the vessels, that's the word. It's very much not that, really. So yeah, I'd say maybe a 7, maybe a 7.58. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. And that is about where we're going to wrap it up for today on this episode of Escaping Kasterborous, the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. Thank you all very, very much for listening. Amy, where can they follow you and find all your stuff?
You can follow me on Instagram at Ames_Elizabeth or at Amy Cakes Baking.
Preferably the baking account, because it has cake involved.
Yeah.
As for me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at PickUpChangeToe. And also, more importantly, follow us and tweet us at Kasterpod. Not only tweeting us whatever, Doctor Who memes and pictures of eggs, but also your questions regarding the podcast as a whole, or, more specifically, Love and Monsters. Good grief.
It is the best way to reach us.
Yes,
and
100% best way to reach us.
if any of you listening want to rise up as a very small Kasterpod army and go to the last posted YouTube video on
The Girl in the
Culture,
Fireplace on Who Culture, and tell everyone where we are.
Tell everyone where they can find us, because that will save us doing it, but I will probably go on and do it now anyway.
Yeah,
however,
as said, I personally can't really go and do it, because that's just a dick move.
But if you guys want to flock to The Girl in the Fireplace, Escaping Kasterborous on YouTube, and just comment, if anybody's wondering, you can find them at Kasterpod on Twitter, and they're also on Spotify under the same name, then that'd be great, because then we'll get, hopefully, our viewership back. Smashing.
Nice. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit cooler. I'm going to go cool down.
Yeah, I'm sweating. And I'm literally only in like my pajamas and I'm sweating.
Yeah. We really do appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll see you potentially next week, if not the week after. Take care. Be good. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.